Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Diego Reyes, functional health coach, functional nutritioner, functional medicine practitioner. I'm here with Ryan Root, would you say, co-owner of H4M,
Yep.
one who runs the whole operation. H4M is a
hmm
telemedicine company prioritizing on hormone replacement therapy for
hmm
men and women all across the country, with about 20,000 patients and only growing ever more so. And the reason why I'm here with Ryan today is because Ryan and I are taking steps together to come up with a way for functional medicine, my practice, to start to integrate aggressive hormone therapy for those that absolutely need it. And so, yeah, so what we'll do, Ryan, is I guess like for you, start from, who you are, where you came from, and everything, so my audience can entirely know.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's been great to get to know you, and you know, obviously we can see that you're very talented in what you do, and we got brought together by Dr. Chakravarthy, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
who's also you're kind of pioneering this decentralized medicine and kind of taking a look at proactive health as far as opposed to reactive health. So
Yeah.
we're all doing a lot of great work in this area, and bringing us all together just makes sense, right? So what's going to be interesting here is like we just started working together, and you don't know my history, so this will be fun.
Yeah, this is
You're gonna
for
learn
anyone
some.
knowing, this is actually like the first conversation I'm
Yeah.
ever having really with Ryan. I mean, I spoke with him and his other co-owner the other day, but
hmm
I was really intrigued by honestly the volume of patients they have in their systems.
hmm
And I mean, obviously Dr. Arvind, really,
hmm
he said that you were just a mastermind when it came to hormone replacement therapy and everything such as that. And obviously I'm not anywhere close to that caliber yet, but I'd say I stand my ground for sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, for what position I should say I am, obviously,
Yeah.
not trying to prescribe or anything, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so you're going to learn a pretty interesting story here, but with that becomes okay. Now you can see why I have a unique presence and a unique history to understand hormone replacement therapy on a very vast level, and not only how to use the hormones, but all of the derivatives as well, and how to kind of put them together and make them harmonize and really optimize people for to look the way they want to look, feel the way they want to feel, and for long-term health. All right, so let's get started.
yeah,
So it started when I was young, when I was 13 years old. Well, let me start with this. I now know I had low testosterone my whole life. Right. The as I got older and started to really learn about this, all the symptoms were there. I didn't know it at the time. When I was 13 years old, I got picked on for being skinny. Right? I was so skinny. I didn't want to be picked on anymore. I hated that, so I wanted to do something about it. So I started hitting the gym at 13, and I never looked back. I worked out really hard. But I still did not mature like my peers. I would put in twice the amount of effort and get half the results. I was fatigued, lethargic. I used to get picked on by adults. They would call me a lazy piece of shit. And just because I had to take naps every day, I was just not motivated, not super ambitious. And I thought, well, this is just life. Like, I guess I can't do this life thing, right? So consequently, I was depressed. I was not confident. I let people walk on me, right? And I just didn't, again, just a low self-esteem. In my early 20s, I realized that something was wrong. I've always been a science guy, so I went to college for biochemistry. I realized that something wasn't right. I wasn't like my peers. I couldn't even grow facial hair until I started taking testosterone. I never grew facial hair, and I just didn't like again. I just didn't develop like my peers. So started to ask my doctor about testosterone, and I said, "Is there something not right here?" And he said that there's no way somebody in their early 20s could have low testosterone. So we're not even going to test you. They wouldn't even rate the test for it. They
do
didn't
you
want
mind
to look at it.
referencing kind of that year, what
Oh
year that
yeah. So
was?
this was probably 2000, uh, just after 2000. So 2002-ish,
Okay.
2001, 2002-ish. So yeah, and there was a lot more stigmatization back then. It's getting better. It still
Oh
has
yeah,
a long
for
way to
sure. I
go, but it's
mean,
getting a lot better.
I hear
But
stuff all the time. I mean, hormones probably haven't. I don't think hormones were big until like probably 2014. I don't know if that's a huge stretch. I mean, in terms of like the concierge clinics and these other clinics showing up, I think that might have been maybe then, but obviously you'd know that more than me, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like some of the well, I can even go into because I've actually done histories. I've done deep research on the history of the stigmatization and demonization, and I can actually
Hmm.
start to pinpoint certain events and certain things that created this just massive, like it's all these different factors that coalesce to create this massive stigmatization and demonization. And I can actually point to events, but it actually probably wasn't until didn't start to turn around until 2017, 2018-ish. That's when things started to turn and the conversation started to be normalized. And then every year it's gotten better.
Yeah.
So, and what's important is just to normalize the conversation of yes, there is such a thing as hormone deficiency. Yes, it is pervasive because we live in an era of environmental toxins and the endocrine disruptors. There's been studies that prove that phthalates, BPC,
Glyphosate,
glyphosate, yeah,
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 pesticides,
pesticides,
just
herbicides. It's in
gluten, processed foods, like
yeah, it's in the
just all
water you
these different
drink, the food,
everything.
the
I
water you
mean,
drink, the
the
food you
light that we
eat,
have on our eyeballs currently, the
yeah,
blue light, just everything.
the soaps you use, the receipts, like ink on
The
receipts is
underwear
now
we
known to
wear,
be an
just
endocrine
everything.
disruptor. It's just everywhere, right? So you can't avoid it. And so their hormone deficiency is pervasive, much more so than people think. And some of the problems come in, there's just a lot of problems and it's mainly a lack of education. There's a fundamental foundational problem with the education of providers and our culture in general
Yeah.
about hormones. They do not learn about it in medical school. It is not in their curriculum. So it is just, ignorance breeds fear, and then there's just stigmatization, right? So, but it turns out that hormones, testosterone is one of the most beneficial medications in the history of medications, right? If you
Mhm.
don't have the foundational hormones, been evolving hormones for 100 million years. There's testosterone in every vertebrate. It's in most plants. It's in some insects. It's again, we've been evolving these fundamental foundational signals. Hormones are signals, metabolic signals. They're signals in our brains, and they just do so many different things, right? So
Yeah. And so I guess like referencing, yeah, going back, okay, 2002.
yeah, so
So you're 13
yeah,
or
so
not 13 anymore. You're in your 20s,
yeah, now
early
I'm in my
20s.
20s. I'm in my
Yep.
early 20s. So my doctor wouldn't help me. They wouldn't even test. So I started taking testosterone on my own. I took my health into my own hands, started taking my own testosterone, right?
Hmm.
When I took testosterone, it dramatically improved my quality of life to the point where I live two completely different lives, completely different worlds. The first thing that happened, and I don't want anybody to think it's only muscle building, but remember, I worked out 2 hours a day. Sometimes I did double shifts. I worked out hard. I had a way I wanted to look, and I wanted to be, perceived, and I didn't look anywhere near that. I looked maybe average at the best, right? With all this work. And I immediately put on about 34 pounds of muscle and I put 100 pounds on my bench press in 5 weeks. 5 weeks.
Gee,
I hyper responded. Like my
that's
body was
amazing.
just craving this testosterone. And when I put it in there, my whole body changed. But it wasn't only that. It was cognition, like brain fog went away. I was now energetic and I had motivation and ambition. It turns out I wasn't a lazy piece of shit. I actually had quite a bit of ambition. I just needed the right amount of testosterone. My confidence went up. Everything. And the other massive change was the way that society treated me. Right. So I got treated totally different by the people around me. I suddenly I, you know, some of it due to I now looked like my work ethic in the gym
Mhm.
and I had this confidence. I exuded this confidence now. But when I would walk into a bar, every head would turn now. When I would walk through that bar, the people would part in front of me. If somebody like sometimes like for instance, I'd accidentally bump into somebody that had a drink, they'd turn kind of to look kind of angry. They'd see me and then suddenly apologize to me, right? When I was in college, I was a plumber during the summers. I was a plumber. I hated plumbing. I didn't want to be a plumber. I couldn't stand it. It was just my summer job. I wasn't going to be a plumber. I was terrible at it. I suddenly
Mhm.
got a raise after taking testosterone. I suddenly got a raise just because I stood before him looking stout and now more confident. So the world started changing around me. It started treating me different. I said, I was instantly respected now. People wanted to befriend me everywhere I went. People wanted to be my friend. I got treated totally different. So the world just changed around me. It was just life altering. right? Completely life altering. So again, I happened to be in school for biochemistry at the time, and I had to learn what is going on here. Why do I feel so good? And most of all, why is nobody talking about this? So I read voracious. Not only did I tailor my degree to study hormones, I took classes specifically for hormones. I also
Mm,
read voraciously, and I couldn't put the information down. Strangely enough, coincidentally, it's not a coincidence. Interestingly enough, I stopped playing video games at this time. Right? While most kids my age came home and played video games, I stopped playing
mm,
video games and couldn't wait to come home and research hormones. And and my because testosterone is so dopaminergic, right? It increases tyrosine hydroxylase, which increases catecholamines, such
mm.
as dopamine, serotonin, uh, epinephrine, norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine.
But it
Yeah.
also it gave me and it direct androgens directly agonize the D2 receptor. So I had all this dopaminergic function that drove me to win in my real life instead of getting those temporary dopamine hits from the fake video game worlds, right? So I wanted to do better in the real life, and I just was motivated for that. I've heard other people tell me too that they stopped playing video games when they started taking testosterone. It's interesting. It's just an interesting thing to kind of keep track of.
Mm, yeah.
So so while I other people noticed this dramatic change I had made, and they said, I've noticed this change that you've made in your life. What did you do? So I said, okay, let me show you. So I started helping other people. And when I got the appreciation, the respect, the admiration, the gratitude for helping other people, it drove a dose response, right? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. And it just drove a passion. And now I finally found my niche in life, right? Like before that, I was like, I didn't know where I fit in. Like, what do I do? How do I fit into this economy? How do I fit into this world? Now it started to crystallize and become clear. Like I can do this. I can help people with these hormones. I'm really good at it. And I could finally be a benefactor to society. So I started helping more and more people. Eventually, I got it started. It was taking a lot of time. I said I have to monetize this. So the only way I could get testosterone was through the black market. You couldn't. It was being
Hmm.
gatekept. They were being gatekeepers. The government, the medical community, they wouldn't give you any. So
Yeah.
it was in whether it was wittingly or unwittingly, I don't know, but they fueled this black market. So the black market started to grow, right? And I just kind of nailed down some supply chains so I could help people and get them some testosterone. And one day, one of my again, I lived in a small city, so I didn't have a lot of clients. I wasn't making a lot of money. I also at the time only had a lab tech job, working in the local emergency room, and I made like $270 a week, right?
Mm,
And I had just a tiny bit of extra income from this, but I wasn't making much money. I was actually destitute. So one of my clients one time told me about this online forum, right? And he said, you could go on here, your prices are better, and you have so much more knowledge than the people on here. You could help people better than the rest of these people on this source forum on this website. Turned out to be the
hmm.
largest source forum in the world. So naturally, I went home, I researched, I looked at it, I said, wow, I can beat these prices. I can do a better job than anybody else on here. So I
Mm,
did. It was an arduous process to become what's called an official source on this website. And I did a lot of research and I it was a lot of hard work. I had to make a website. I didn't know how to do that. I had to get somebody to help me, but it was a lot of work. I had to take all
hmm.
these steps. So eventually I became an official source on this website, right? But there's a thousand
Yep.
other sources on there. What stands me out, right? So I made some pretty simple good business practices. I did some things that nobody else was doing. And I was hoping, not only did I want to help people, it's always been my passion to help people, but I was hoping I could make 200 or 300 extra dollars a week. Right? That would
Hmm.
make me a little more comfortable. I was really pretty destitute. And if I could make 200 or 300 extra dollars a week, I would be more comfortable, right? And I was hoping I could do that, but I thought that was overzealous. I didn't see how I was going to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Again, some simple business practices. This business absolutely took off within
And, you know,
6 months.
what year was this around still?
This
Is
was
this a
2010, 11.
okay.
Within 6 months, I was bringing in $21,000 a week. Within a year, I was bringing in 30, then 40,000 a week, then $100,000 a week. There was a few weeks where I made $500,000, right? It just blew up. I had to build this massive empire and throughout the entire United States, and I had all these
Sources.
well depots, like because I built an entire operation to make, to import raw materials. We made it through several throughout the United States. We had shipping operations, chemist operations, an army of people collecting money for us. So I
Yep.
got rated on the largest source forum in the world. I got rated as the third most popular supplier in the entire world at one point. So naturally, I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew it was illegal. Um, I and I knew it could come crashing down. One day it did. In 2015, I got indicted by Operation Cyberjuice. I was in my a penthouse overlooking Manhattan when the DEA knocked on the door and I opened the door and there was 15 DEA agents all with guns pointed at my head. And I got taken in and I was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. Right.
Hmm.
Well, when I went into prison, I used my time wisely. Right? I studied business voraciously. I got a mentor and I wrote a business plan. I wrote a business plan to do this legally and legitimately, right? With long-term health and safety in mind. So after a few years of just writing this business plan and fine-tuning it, when I got out of prison, I executed on this business plan, and and then here we go. So now we own hormonesforme.com, and we I have 50 states. We're in 50 states, and now it's about legally and legitimately using all the experience I've aggregated over the decades to really help people in a way that nobody else really knows how to. So what I can say is now like I knew what I was doing was illegal, and I am accountable for those actions,
Hmm.
I did my time. Now it's a story of redemption. Like, what did my story get me? Well, it allowed
Yeah.
me to aggregate more empirical data than just about anybody could have accrued in the world, right? Because I was the front man. I I I helped people with protocols. I looked at blood work. I saw what they were doing. I designed protocols. I looked at more blood work. I could see what all that did. And I did this on the level. I've had about 20,000 clients. I saw about 20,000, guided about 20,000 people through the use of hormones. I've just seen this on a so much more of a vast level than just about anybody else in the world, just because of this unique history where I've been in this since a young age. I made my entire life about it. I studied only this, solely this field. And then I was in a situation to just accrue a vast treasure trove of data from more experience than just about anybody could have, unless they had this unique history that I have.
Yeah. 100%.
So I've just seen this on a vast level. Now I'm using all of this information and data and experience that I have to do this legally, legitimately, and to really help people throughout the entire country. Right? And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing right now.
It's incredible, Ryan. That's definitely a great story. I mean, it's so astonishing to just feel like that someone like you in your circumstance was just helping thousands of people.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it was in a way that was, I guess, deemed unsafe and illegal
Yeah.
rather. But I think that is to go to show something like, obviously the intention during that whole operation was just to really help people because you were once in
Mhm.
those shoes.
It,
You
the
were once, yeah.
Yeah, right. Most of my clients were people who had TRT prescriptions. They were just on TRT, but I could sell it to them for an eighth of the price that they could get it
Mhm.
through either a clinic or whoever. And most people's doctors when so the other people I would have is like, well, my doctor, their doctor either gives them an awful protocol because they don't understand how to use it, or they just wouldn't give it to them. They don't care that they're low testosterone. They're like, no, we're not doing this. So most of my patients were TRT people. It wasn't. I mean, I did have some bodybuilders on there, but it wasn't the majority of my patients or my clients at the time it was clients. So I used to get back then. I used to get emails every single day, and I still do. And the emails thank me. They thank me for making people a better husband or wife to their spouse. Thank me for making a better father or mother to their children, and they thank me for making them a better supporter of their family because that's what these do. These foundational hormones. I've seen testosterone get people off of blood pressure medications, off of cholesterol medications, off of SSRIs and other depression medications because it's dopaminergic, gives you a good sense of well-being, right?
Mhm.
I've seen it get people off of pain medications, including opioids, because it's systemically anti-inflammatory. Um, Testosterone suppresses overactive immune system, so I've seen it get people off of. I've seen it like really rid people of things like rheumatoid arthritis
Autoimmune.
and
Yeah.
ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease,
I
and
can I can wholly attest to that.
yeah,
And working in the practice that I do, I see autoimmune patients every single day.
hmm
And especially in that perimenopausal menopausal
yeah,
state, I mean, the body is already in a more inflamed state. The
hmm
immune system's already more overactive. I think just adding in that hormone obviously medicinally improves the immune
yeah,
system, reduce inflammation, but I think
yeah,
actually just create more resilience for that body
yeah, right.
to really do so.
So we're it also reverses diabetes. It reverses metabolic disorder, right? So we're improving
It
insulin
does everything.
sensitivity. It does everything, right? It does a little everything. So when we talk about, all right, so if we want to look at the mechanism at which it improves autoimmune disorders, is testosterone inhibits the differentiation of the T helper 1 and T helper 2. So you create a T helper cell and it has to differentiate into T helper 1 or T helper 2. If you don't make that differentiation, then it's just this inactive T helper cell. And that's what testosterone does. It inhibits that differentiation. So you actually suppress overactive immune systems, but it doesn't suppress immune systems so much to cause a problem,
It
just the
modulates it.
overactive. It just modulates an overactive immune
Yeah.
system. So that's why we can like really improve rheumatoid arthritis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, all these autoimmune disorders, like especially like these inflammatory bowel diseases, right? It
Yeah,
really
yeah. I
also
mean,
does.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've done a little deep dive on the immune system and all that. Obviously not
Mhm.
like immunologist, but um, in a autoimmune state is, obviously it's the immune system overactive.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, obviously it's going to help modulate it, like you're saying,
hmm
and then obviously removing other air aggravants that could cause that pretty much fluctuation of the immune system, the effect
Yeah.
sensitivities that an individual has, or
Yeah.
stress and lifestyle. Your innate immune system just
Yeah.
goes haywire or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's astonishing. For you, I guess like I wanted to backtrack here. So, what do you feel like were those events that actually cause HR, or rather, I guess, testosterone to really kind of get into the scene? What is it? From political things? Was it from just society?
Yeah.
I mean, not societal, I should say, things as
Yeah.
well, or
So I did a lot of research on this because I did a whole video on it. So we can start from the kind of in aggregate, like what went wrong and now what seems to be going right. And I don't know if I have an explanation of what's going right as much as just so many people are just starting to talk about it, right? And but so let's go with what went wrong. So if we look at the 60s, right, when testosterone was developed in the 30s, and in the 60s they started developing all the derivatives. Like that's when they developed like nandrolone, and nandrolone may be older than that, but they developed like methanolone and oxandrolone, and a lot of those derivatives started to be developed in the 60s because and the reason why they developed all these derivatives is because they were really promising. Like all the studies showed so many massive benefits from testosterone, and then when they started to develop derivatives, the derivatives have massive benefits. All the studies
well,
in the
yeah,
60s were just
they're for people
hugely
that need it.
beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, they're people that need it. I mean, all
Yeah.
the time we get,
Oh yeah.
you guys prescribe Anavar probably for females that need it. They
Oh
just
yeah.
don't have the androgenic capacity to build
Yeah.
muscle like they should. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What we've discovered, which I don't think anybody else has really discovered, is A, the importance of SHBG, and B, that some people have genetic predispositions where they produce an excessive amount of SHBG. One of the best ways to bring SHBG into to a more manageable level is oxandrolone. It significantly inhibits
Mm.
the production of SHBG, which
Well, yeah,
is good and
that's
bad. It could be
basically,
bad for
yeah.
people with
Well,
low
yeah.
SHBG, but it's good for a lot of I've done a few videos that have done really well on SHBG. So people tend to come to us that have SHBG problems, and that's one of our ways of modular or bringing SHBG to a manageable level for people who have excessive SHBG. So it oxandrolone, nothing
Yeah,
else works like it. It's just fantastic at that. Yeah.
and that's in PCOS pretty relevant, right? The higher SHBG.
Well, not necessarily. PCOS is not really
or is it
well
lower?
well understood. It's more about there's actually
Yeah.
some single nucleotide polymorphisms that can cause excessive SHBG production.
Hmm.
And it seems to be related to a few genetic mutations, right?
Okay.
And not that there isn't other reasons for it, but there's specifically some conditions under which some people just have such just super high SHBG. And SHBG is very important. It's a non it creates a non-genomic effect to make the androgens and the rest of your hormone cascades more effective, right? So there's SHBG
Hmm.
receptors on the outside of cells, and when testosterone binds to that, cellular crosstalk, it increases cyclic AMP and PKA to actually to phosphorylate the androgen receptors, or it's actually the coactivators. So when testosterone inside the cell binds to the androgen receptor, these coactivators have to translocate it to the nucleus to actually, and then prepare the DNA to actually for it to bind to the DNA and then have the hormone cascade effect. Well, if you
Hmm.
don't have these coactivators bring the testosterone bound androgen receptor to the nucleus, then you just sit there in limbo and there's no effect. Well, the cellular crosstalk, the SHBG on the outside binding to the testosterone, phosphorylates the coactivators to allow them to bind to the testosterone and bring it to the nucleus. Without that, you actually don't have any hormone cascade effect. The testosterone binds to the androgen receptor and just sits there in limbo. That's why SHBG is important. You need it for that cellular crosstalk. If you step back and look at it, it's actually a defense mechanism. Androgens bring down SHBG, and SHBG is required in order to facilitate the efficacy of the testosterone-bound androgen receptor, the hormone cascade. So
Hmm.
too high androgens, low SHBG, you actually reduce the sensitivity to the androgens. It's a defense mechanism. And it's when you
Hmm.
take a step back, it's actually pretty brilliant. Like evolution has created this brilliant mechanism for that. So that's why high
Yeah.
testosterone, you actually lose sensitivity to the androgens, right? But
Hmm.
in some people, like especially like some people, there's other things that can inhibit SHBG production. If it's too low, then you won't have sensitivity to the hormones, and we have to do something to bring your SHBG back up so that you can have sensitivity to the testosterone
Yeah,
again.
I guess I want you to elaborate on that. That was actually where I was going next because so what are we seeing now with the hormone sensitivity issues? Okay, can you kind of explain what that even means? Can you tell me what you see in practice, or I should say with your company patients? Like, what
Mhm.
do you see for that, and how would you explain that?
Yeah, so uh, we say that everybody's different, right? And some of these things causes the difference in each individual. So people can be. I mean, this is one factor, right? There's also, how many androgen receptors does a person have? Like how many, and that can be your CAG repeats, right? Can also to tell how well does testosterone actually bind to your androgen receptors. And we think of one of the problems is that we used to think of androgen receptors as one series of proteins that come together in a certain amino acid sequence, right? But it turns out everybody's androgen receptors are a little different, right? So, and some of them bind better to androgens, and some of them bind worse. And this
And
can
that's why
be
personalized medicine is huge.
that's exactly right. So everybody's a little different, and that's why some people need more testosterone to feel it, and some people need less. Now, SHBG is another sensitivity factor. If like and some of the things that bring down SHBG is things that would spike your insulin. It's not actually glucose or insulin. It's actually like hepatic lipids and tumor necrosis factor 4, and there's some other peroxidase things that
Yeah,
happen in the
the extent
liver.
that I know how to decrease SHBG is just using boron, but I mean
What?
there's probably a
Yeah,
plethora of other things to be used and done. Obviously, obviously
yeah.
correcting insulin resistance probably being one of the bigger
Yeah,
ones for
right.
sure.
Yeah, right. So people who so but one good metric that we can use to see if you're going to inhibit your SHBG production is insulin, right? So if you're
Yeah.
eating sugar, if you're eating pure sugars, if you're eating short chain
So
carbohydrates.
is there like a specific lab value, like an 18 or above? Are you seeing
Right. Yeah.
15
So
or
so what we see is what you do need. I think one of the important things to understand is the free test like the Endocrine Society came in And they came up with this facile idea of how to understand testosterone. They said the free testosterone is really the most important thing. It doesn't matter. And that's just not true. It's just a facile way to look at it, right? You can
Yeah.
have, if you have low SHBG, your free testosterone is going to be higher, but you're going to have no sensitivity because again, the SHBG is needed to facilitate the translocation to the nucleus. So you need SHBG, you need an adequate total testosterone, and the free testosterone metric is very inaccurate, whether it be the calculation or the direct test methodology. It's notoriously very inaccurate, right? Um,
So when we see that like 800, 1,000, 1,500
yeah.
for that total testosterone,
Mhm.
you're saying that that doesn't really mean much. We just know how much is in our
We,
bloodstream
we,
currently.
we, well,
I shouldn't say black and white, obviously, but
yeah.
like, how
It,
would you say that?
what I would say is that most people need that probably 800,000 to 1,500 range to be most optimal, right? I think
Mm.
what I would say is here's another problem, and there's so many different things. One of the major problems is the ranges, right? And even physicians don't
You
understand
should have
where the
saw the
ranges
one
come
this
from.
morning. It was in the green at 270. Yeah, it was
Oh
just
yeah, exactly.
and
270
it's
unequivocally, no doubt about it, is low
yeah,
testosterone, and you will have problems. If you stay at 270 for your whole life, you will die early from testosterone deficiency. There's no question
yeah,
about it. You are
that's been studied
developing
and proved.
metabolic disorder, depressive disorders even at 300. And we find that actually in the 400s, you're still developing metabolic disorders, insulin resistance.
So
There's all these
yeah.
problems. So
Quick
here's the
side
thing.
note.
Let's
Yeah.
understand where the ranges come from so we can understand that they're garbage. Right? So the ranges don't come from any scientific research to say, yes, inside this range is where the biochemical reactions are happening properly. And this is where and anything outside the range is dangerous. That's not where the ranges come from. The ranges come, and for testosterone in the United States, the ranges come from four studies. And what they did is they had to resolve these four studies. So they came up with this, they came up with a statistical equation that kind of came up with an average of these four studies, right? Then what they did is they took a statistical equation, not scientific research, no science, statistics, mathematical equation that resolved all of these studies and came up with a percentile, right? And what they did is they took the the 2.5% percentile and the 97.5% percentile. And anybody who understands statistics knows that there's outliers. There's significant outliers in those. And they made that a part of the range. So we're looking at an average for the study, for these studies, and we took the significant outliers and called that inside the range. So for low testosterone, the significant outliers, we're calling that inside the range, right? So
Mhm.
so the study, all it did was take these statistical equations, no science, no research to show, yes, this is where the biochemical reactions, just mathematical equations, and they call that the range, right? So what we find in the field and in reality is that the middle to lower end of the quartile is you have hormone deficiency and you're developing all the adverse consequences of low testosterone, metabolic disorder, depressive disorders, um, insulin
Weight gain,
sensitivity. It's all
fatigue,
happening
brain fog.
middle to lower quartiles of the range, right? Well, so we find that, and you can look at you. The problem is we don't have any one study that shows that. What we can do is take a whole bunch of studies and look at and say, hey,
The
look,
problem is no one did this for females either.
right, yeah, the
That's a
females
whole
is worse
different
for the
topic.
male range.
It's worse. Well, I
It's
say it's
worse.
worse. I work with a lot of men, but honestly, I'd say it's probably 60, 70, 30, 40 split here with me working predominantly females,
Yeah,
just with kind of the things that I'm expert, like more so helping. But
yeah,
I guess for you, I know it's a little off topic but like what is your ideal reference range
yeah.
that you guys at your clinic like to shoot
Mhm.
for let's say a perimenopausal menopausal female?
Sure.
For
So
let's
this
say
is
let's start with
yeah.
for total testosterone.
This is going to be a generalization, right? Everybody's different. So, but I will do is give you generalizations that I can say this is where we usually see the most benefits. So for me, for females, we usually see that the range is so far off. We usually want to see a female at 2 to 5 times the top of the range, right? So that's about a range of 100 to 300 is where we usually see. Now, some females a little less, 80. Some females actually need 400, right? It just depends on the female.
Okay.
So, but usually in the range of 100 to 300 is where we see the most optimal, best most consistent results.
I can attest that greatly.
Mhm.
Um, so then I guess that leads me to the next option, or rather thing. Okay, what do you feel about creams, patches, pellets?
So pellets, we get a lot of people coming to us to come off of pellets, mainly as they do absorb really well in the beginning, and then they absorb everything in the beginning,
And then they
and
start to dissipate,
you'll
go to
start dissipating in a month, and so we get
yeah,
these fluctuations, and people feel good at first, and terrible towards the end, and then the providers just have a problem reimplanting, and it's kind of it's invasive too. We can just stabilize your levels wherever you feel best with
keep it
injections. So
consistent.
we always recommend injections. It's the best absorbed. It's the easiest way to stabilize your hormone levels wherever we need them. So we recommend injections.
And then
Patches
for
just
estrogen,
estrogen. We recommend injections. Estradiol
okay,
cypionate or estradiol valerate. We recommend
okay.
the patches just don't absorb enough. So understand that all the doctors right now are recommending patches, not because it's the most effective method,
Well, I'm
because
seeing a lot of NPs do creams.
creams are the second best, but the patches, like I see a
Okay.
lot of people coming to us from patches because, and again, providers are recommending patches not because it's the best method or it's been proven to be the best. It's because it's what the drug because they get continuing medical education is paid for by drug companies, and the drug companies push the patches because it's what they have patented right now. They push these patches, and that's why most providers will just recommend a patch. It's actually one of the worst. Right? The creams aren't too bad. That's the second. Besides, if you can't do the injections, then the next we recommend the creams. What you do not want to take is estradiol pills. Do not take those. They're actually dangerous. Estradiol pills convert 90% to estrone. When you have that much of a difference in estrone, like we see females coming to us from the pills, and the providers never take an estrone test. They just take an estradiol. You take an estradiol pill, it converts 90% to estrone. So they'll come to us, the providers are only giving them estradiol levels, and they'll see their level barely goes up, and they give them more higher dose pills and higher dose pills. Now their estrone is 600 and their estradiol is only like 60, right? So,
Yeah, and
so
so a little background, our body has, what is it, three forms of estrogen,
yeah,
estriol,
yep.
estradiol, and estrione, or whatever the one.
Estrone,
Estrone.
estriol, and estradiol. Yeah. E1
Okay.
is
Yeah.
estrone, E2 is estradiol, E3 is estriol.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lacking enzyme, or is it just not even just applicable to even
Well,
have that conversion happen in the body?
well, yeah, when you just process it through the liver orally, when you process it directly through the liver, it just breaks into different metabolites, right?
Okay.
So you don't want to ever take estradiol pills. It's bad because that much estrone, that disparity in estrone and estriol causes actually quinones production, which is those are actually cancerous, right?
Yeah,
So
DNA damage and
yeah, like it will cause
uh
DNA damage. Yeah.
I'm just picturing the Dutch test right now and just the whole estrogen clearance cascade. But
Yeah.
that's just what I would know from that training. But
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's honestly astonishing. So you're saying, okay, number one, obviously, as always, the injections are always
Yep.
kind of the top tier with
Yep.
but
If
progesterone.
yeah.
Is that typically injected still, you
Wait,
guys like, or do you like
I
capsules?
like the injections if you can take it. The problem with progesterone is we can't esterify it because of the shape of the molecule, right? So you
Okay.
can't like the estradiol we can esterify where we put this carbon chain onto the molecule. Then your body has to break off that carbon chain before it can use the base molecule, the estradiol or the testosterone, right? And that's why it has a half-life. So it takes a while for your body. So your blood levels look, it goes up. The half-life is estradiol or testosterone cypionate estradiol. Well, the cypionate molecule is different for men and women. Women process cypionate a lot more slowly than men. So in a male testosterone cypionate, the half-life is 2 to 4 days. It depends on the person. Everybody's different. And if you do the research, though, it's going to say it's like 6 or 8 days, and that's just wrong. It's just wrong. I see it every day in blood work. It's about 2 to 4 days. So but progesterone we can't esterify, so it's instant. You inject it, your body uses it right away, and it spikes and is out of your system in like 6 to 8 hours. Right, so you have to take progesterone injections daily. You can do it subcutaneously, or I usually have like people do an insulin syringe in their deltoid, and the half-inch insulin syringe it can pierce. It's enough to pierce the epidermis. You get in the top of the muscle mass. We call it a shallow IM. right? Um, the second
That's
way to
interesting.
do,
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone taking injectable progesterone.
oh yeah,
I believe in it. I
oh yeah.
totally am with it.
So
I'm totally with it.
yeah,
But I've always seen just the bioidentical capsules for females,
right.
like
So
100 to 200 and
yeah,
500 before bed. But that makes sense though, metabolizing it out of your body,
yeah.
then that's why you're not actually seeing a difference, so forth.
Progesterone pills do metabolize differently than if it was
Okay.
produced. Another reason I like injections is because it's metabolized like it if it was produced by your ovaries, right? Because it's systemic, it goes in, it's absorbed 100%. It's
Yeah.
more like if it was produced by your ovaries.
More
If
I
if you
guess
take
naturally occurring.
if you take progesterone pills, it will break down into different metabolites than if it's injected into your body or if your ovaries are producing it. However, the progesterone metabolites aren't that bad. It metabolizes mostly into pregnanolone and allopregnanolone, right? Which are positive allosteric modulators of the GABA A receptor. This is a fancy way of saying an anxiolytic. It reduces anxiety, helps you sleep, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the way that I always propose to females, obviously, because I'm not one, I'm sure you get that one too. But what I'm usually like, okay, so obviously when a female's, let's say, in her early 40s, 40s, whatever, and they're having obviously the insomnia, low back pain, cycle issues, typically the first thing I'm going is progesterone support.
Hmm.
And now I'm wondering your ideology on that in terms of like, okay, are you just then thinking like, if she's still a cycling female, still do it in luteal phase, or are you thinking that like a 30 days, like take it every day, or what is your ideology on that too?
Yeah.
And is that appropriate, do you feel, um, as well?
It's a great question. What my ideology on it is if they are still cycling and if they were interested in fertility, that I don't want to interrupt
Oh,
that
I
I
guess I
don't
should
want to
have.
interrupt their
Okay.
cycle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for
Now,
sure.
now you could take a methodology of doing what you said and giving you progesterone when you'll usually have it, which is so progesterone starts building day 21-ish. It's different for everyone. And then
Yeah.
and then
That's
peaks
second
and then
end.
your peaks at day 28-ish. And then your
Mhm.
body, the female body decides, is there a fertilized egg attached to my uterine wall? And if not, then the progesterone dumps, and that's what signals the shedding of the uterine lining, right?
Yeah.
So you would have to mimic that if you wanted to do it with somebody who's interested in fertility. Usually what I do, honestly, is I don't give estradiol or progesterone to women who are still cycling and interested in fertility. Usually it's just testosterone. Testosterone does not interrupt the estradiol and progesterone production.
So
Um,
you're saying a female could be like 28 years old taking testosterone
yeah,
and that wouldn't impact her fertility?
that's correct. That's correct.
Oh, okay. I
And
guess I
that,
didn't know that.
yeah,
And I guess I
most
should have
people don't
prefaced
because
too,
in
like we're
men
not talking
it
about a
does.
female with plans to get pregnant.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's good to know though.
Yeah, so and that, a lot of people don't understand that because in men testosterone does affect fertility, right? But in females,
Oh,
testosterone
heavily.
alone
And I
does
wanted
not.
to highlight that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess like going to that topic too. I know we just got into females, but so men, like, okay, uh, honestly, you probably see it all the time. We see more and more men getting on testosterone earlier.
Hmm.
Trust me, I'm definitely a testosterone junkie and guru for
Hmm.
sure. I mean, I
Hmm.
take I take a lot of stuff for that, and
Yeah.
I don't supplement it like like we what you guys typically do. But
Mhm.
um, what are your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I think that we need to normalize the discussion about testosterone. We need to
Yeah.
quit demonizing it and look at it as the
Mhm.
massively beneficial medication that it is. If you have hormone deficiency and you need testosterone, we then you should take it unequivocally. And we can do things about your fertility. We have steps to take about your fertility, and it's not like you're infertile if you take testosterone. And
So
we can give you HCG, which mimics luteinizing hormone. And we can give you FSH. You can take recombinant FSH, and we have those to maintain your fertility while you're taking testosterone. It's not even that we've
big of
got
a deal.
we've had plenty of people conceive while they're still taking testosterone with our fertility protocols.
Does that impact the development of the child?
No, no,
Okay. I
because
guess I'm not challenging. I'm just trying to
yeah,
understand because I'm kind of curious myself because that's because no, for sure, because I guess like if I'm in that scenario and we're gonna go to the provider, I'm like, hey, there is a route where you can get your levels from. I mean,
Yeah.
freaking 250 to let's say 900
Yep.
in a actual effective manner
Mhm.
than trying these other supplements out there that boost T.
Yeah.
But and
But
we can still keep your fertility.
yeah. So here's what we do though. We do have a program to deal with young people who need testosterone. There's plenty of people like here's an interesting fact. When I first started this clinic, right, I expected the people who need it the most are probably the people who are like 40 and older, right? Or maybe
Yeah,
35 and older, right? And
I'm sure it's gotten way different than that.
I expected that that's what we're going to be seeing, right? And there's a few reasons, right? Like the older generation, the people who need it the most, the older generations have been inculcated with the idea that testosterone is evil and it's the devil. So they
Yeah.
don't they're scared to take it. And then if they go to the doctor, their doctor goes, "Nah, you're going to get all kinds of clotting and cancer immediately. You're going to die immediately. Your heart's going to explode and you're going to become a big tumor if you take testosterone." That's what they've told them. So then, and they've also been told that they've been inculcated with the idea that to put their provider on a pedestal, and the doctors know everything, and you just listen to your doctor. And it turns out that they've been taught wrong
It's
all
like an
these years.
oracle. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they've been taught wrong. So, but the younger generations are more apt to question and say, I don't know if that's true, right? And so, but so what we find though is that our largest
But let's
demographic.
let me highlight that for a quick minute.
Mhm,
Why are we thinking like that? Well, if we actually look at what the science every day now is showing us,
mhm.
all that stuff that they said prior, that was trust your doctor, follow the science, has been like we have the right to feel this way.
Yeah,
They did it upon themselves.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
we just found out. I mean, technically, the FDA commissioner just took off the black box warning on
yeah.
testosterone.
Testosterone
Like
and
that
women's
gives
HRT. Yeah,
that's right there a tall tale reason why we don't trust.
yeah,
Why we don't trust. You did it to yourself though, so
yeah.
yeah, continue on.
No, you're
But
absolutely right. They've been demonizing one of the most beneficial medications in the history of medications. They've been doing it for decades. And it's like, and people who take testosterone don't freaking die. They don't have all these evil things happen to them. And so like all these people are going, what the hell? Like what were you talking about? And now we've debunked every so that's if I want some people to get something out of this podcast, it's we have debunked every risk factor for therapeutic use of testosterone. Every single risk factor. There are no risks. And I'm sick and I still hear these doctors who even agree with that people should get testosterone replacement therapy. They'll still say things because it's cognitive dissonance, right? You've been inculcated with this idea, so they still say, well, just understand the risks, and if you're okay with that, then go ahead and take testosterone replacement therapy. What risks? Where are they? There's none. They've all been debunked. There is zero risk for taking therapeutic doses of testosterone. And that needs to be normalized. That needs to be known. You've been misinformed your whole life. Testosterone is not only the latest study. There's a study that came out in 2022 done on Finnish men, and we call it the Finnish study. It was done on 70,000 men taken over a 18-year period. The end result of the study was people on TRT had lower all-cause mortality than people who did not take TRT. Bottom line, people on TRT live longer. You're healthier and you live longer. It's the bottom line. That's it.
mhm.
And we see that in the field. That's not surprising to me because I see it all the time, but it's surprising to people who are inculcated. Now, cognitive dissonance is having when you have doctors who see all this new information come out and then they say, well, we still don't know. Yes, we do. We know
Yeah, we
everything.
don't know long-term effects. We
Yeah,
don't know what's
yes,
going
we
to
do. We
happen
do.
in a
We know
decade.
everything. We know it all.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
wrong. It's cognitive dissonance to say that. You've been inculcated your whole life with this one thing and you'll just your brain will just do anything to rationalize what's been beamed in your head, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And for you then, what is this? Okay, so let's say we have an individual, he's in his later 20s, let's say, or
Hmm.
early 30s, or he's looking to have a conceive. What's your guys' protocol, your clinic for that scenario? And then we'll go
Yeah.
into the other end of the spectrum.
Okay. And I apologize. I think I forgot my point. But our
Yeah,
largest
yeah.
demographic is 30 to 40 year olds. Our second largest demographic is
Okay.
20 to 30 year olds, right? So that's
I can see
surprising.
that.
We didn't expect
Male
that
and
when we
female,
started.
correct? Or
Yeah, both male and female. Yeah.
okay,
I'm
okay.
trying to think. Well, for females, we're starting because HRT, they took off the black box warning for female HRT now. So now we're actually starting to see an influx of menopausal women and perimenopausal women. So that probably demographic for females is probably taken over. But For men, it's still 30 to 40, 20 to 30 is their second largest demographic, right?
Yeah.
It's the 67. We have an 84. Let me get this. We have an 84-year-old. He actually had prostate cancer, and they gave him androgen deprivation therapy. So he was just dying, right? He was catabolizing. His body was eating itself. His testosterone after he was cleared of prostate cancer, his testosterone came up to like 150, right? And that's all it would get to. So we put him on HRT, right? He wasn't himself. He had to walk around with a walker. He couldn't think straight. His wife was telling him, his wife says he's just not the same person. He doesn't have the personality. We gave him testosterone. One of the first things he said he noticed, and he's a physicist, so he's a brilliant guy. He does all the research. He
Mhm.
helped us do this research on him. We actually did a show with him, a live show with him. It's a fantastic show. First thing he noticed is his balance improved. So we went and looked, and there is androgen receptors in the cerebellum that affect balance. One of the reasons why, as you age, you're a fall risk is because you lose your balance because you have low androgen receptor agonization in your cerebellum, which affects your balance. He said that not only did he come off his walker, but he could start putting his pants on one leg at a time now. He could stand up and just put his pants on. He said he hadn't been able to do that since he was in his like 50s. Right? So he got his balance. He got to put his walker away. He got his personality back. His wife wrote me an email thanking me because she got her husband back. His personality, his sense of humor, everything came back. He went back to work. He works again. He's 80, he's 85 years old. He works again. And he loves working. And he went back to work.
Yeah.
He started to put on muscle. He exercises a lot. He sends me his PRs. He said that I haven't done this much weight in the gym since I was 50. He's in the gym again. He's just doing phenomenally. He's a different person. Everything got better for him. And this is and I've said this many times and I'll say it 1,000 more times until it sticks. If we put hormone replacement therapy, including testosterone or hormone replacement therapy for females, into nursing homes, we would have the population in nursing homes. Most of the decline and decay you see in nursing homes is hormone deficiency.
I
Your
used to
body
work in
actually
one.
goes into a catabolic
So
state where you actually start
I
using your own proteins for a primary source of energy over your fat stores. So your body
it's
literally
bad.
starts eating
It's
itself.
bad. It's bad. I saw that firsthand. Like I said, yeah, I worked in a nursing home, and the rate of when the accident happened, the fall,
Hmm.
and then the broken bone,
Yep.
and
Yep.
the end or whatever
Yeah.
was it could have
It's
been days.
yeah.
It could, and then a long time would be weeks,
Yeah.
actually,
Oh yeah.
and then that's it.
So get the
It was bad. It was
we're
really, really bad.
yeah.
And like just I'm just thinking in my head, like this is so wrong. And I'm just thinking, now with kind of what I've been doing a few years, like I just think about like imagine if we just got growth hormone in them.
Oh
Imagine
yeah.
if we just got some testosterone in
Testosterone.
them.
Just put
Get
and the
even
females, all of our
Anavar.
females, all
Just
of our of all menopause teachers, every single one of them has testosterone. They all take testosterone. We females need testosterone, right? So that's another big bout of misinformation that testosterone's a male hormone, estrogen's a female hormone. It's ridiculous. They're human hormones.
well, yeah, that's even a
Every
I
vertebrate
think
has testosterone. It's been evolving for 100 million years.
yeah,
Um,
well one time I had someone come to me and he was taking testosterone and he was taking an AI and his estradiol was around like 8.
it's way too
And
low. You'll have all kinds of
and
adverse effects from that.
he came to me. I fixed it like in 2 minutes because I
Yeah.
saw the value, and he's like I got terrible ED, I got no
Mhm.
sex drive, my testosterone's at
His
1100.
joints probably hurt, everything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
his joints hurt, and then I was like, all right, well let's see what we have here, and then I take a look, and then it's like, oh my goodness, like your estradiol's at 8. He's like, this is. I was like, what are you doing? Are you? And then he was taking, obviously he was a Nasserite or
Oh,
something. I don't
yeah,
know what
no,
a
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Anyway, but he was yeah, and I was just like, yeah, get off of that.
yeah, yeah.
And because like, well, in functional medicine, like how I think about it is like if you're someone already increasing so much estradiol, well, there's two things happening. There's either something you're doing is causing that to be increased, which could
Mhm,
be like insulin or processed food and just
mhm.
shit lifestyle, or two, your liver and conjugation is backed up. You're not
Yeah.
detoxing estrogen clearance and adequately
Mhm.
enough. So that's the two, just more natural mechanisms of action that you should
Mhm.
focus on besides just lowering the dose or, just putting an AI in.
Yeah.
If you want
Right.
to,
Yeah.
that's how I think about it as
Yep.
well, I guess I
It's a
should
good way
say.
to think about it. Yeah.
So, I mean,
So
okay,
I I
yeah.
keep getting sidetracked. So your question was, what do we do for younger person? So if you're and
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I just,
we treat some 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds with clear hormone deficiency. I have a soft spot in my heart for young guys because I had low testosterone at that age too. So
yeah, for
like,
sure. And
but
I see it a lot, especially
oh
because
yeah,
I'm a younger guy too. So
yeah,
I'm like, dude, yeah, you should definitely look into these. I haven't, obviously that's a physician's job to do so, but I am definitely like, hey, we should speak to, because
yeah,
obviously I got the hookups, I got people.
yeah,
So I'm like, hey, we should check out. But yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
So what we do for somebody young is what we do is we know we just tell them what the issue is and here's what we see here's and we would be remiss if we didn't show that person at least educate them about the remedies for more endogenous production, right? So even these testosterone boosters, right, which whatever they for most people they don't really do much. But we educate them about that, and we don't use enclomiphene because enclomiphene blocks estrogen receptors, and estrogen, as we've just discussed, is very important. There's no reason to trick your body into thinking it doesn't have enough estrogen. That's just ridiculous. So HCG though, sure. So we'll teach them about HCG. Another thing we do is if you're going to be interested in fertility here, then let's freeze some sperm. Before you go on testosterone, freeze some sperm now. It's not that expensive anymore to put some sperm in a sperm bank. So now we have a robust plan, right? We have a backup. Even though we
Wait,
can
can you reiterate what you just said?
freeze your sperm. So we teach them to freeze their sperm.
Like at their house?
Well, no, in a sperm bank. It's not that expensive anymore to actually put have your sperm frozen so that you can use it later.
Okay.
There's
And that's
okay,
something
so
you
so
guys
maybe you're not aware of
facilitate?
the process. So you can
No, yeah, I'm not aware. So I love this
you
stuff.
can
This is amazing. This is
yeah, you
great.
can go to a sperm bank, right? And it's not that
Sperm
expensive
bank.
anymore. It
Like
used
this
to
is
be.
like like in every city, or is it like you
Yeah,
just ship it?
every big city will have a sperm bank. Yeah, and you actually you can deposit a specimen and they'll freeze it for you. So you can unfreeze it 10 years later and then it will still be viable sperm, right? And you can just keep it in a sperm bank. So we teach people about this possibility, right? It's not too expensive to do anymore either.
What would you say it is? Like 1,000 a year,
What?
or
I don't know. I just know that the prices have been coming down. I don't have a
is it like you pay yearly, or is it like you pay
yeah,
monthly,
yeah,
or
I would yeah, like you would just pay like a yeah,
like you're just
like you're
paying
paying
like
for a storage shed, right? I don't know if it would be monthly. You might be
true?
able to do it. You would probably do it yearly though.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like, hey, you're cool to keep your sperm here. Okay, well that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm.
What other things you guys are doing?
Yeah, and then we would teach people about more natural remedies, right? And then teach people about possible HCG use, and then offer them the testosterone. And here's what we can do to maintain fertility, right? HCG will help you maintain fertility while you're on the testosterone. And then
What is your obviously not medical advice, as the disclaimer is going to
yeah,
significantly say, but what was like what are you looking at for that dose? I hear a lot with the HCG dose. Like
yeah.
what do you see? What do you think is
So
best?
the HCG is just going to be to maintain fertility. It's not going to build up enough sperm supply for you to actually conceive, right? So it's more about just fertility maintenance. So what and HCG can be a complicating factor because it does turn on steroidogenesis. It can increase your levels beyond what the dose you're taking and it tends to spike estrogen too for one reason or another. So,
Well, I meant more so for that 20-year-old that wants to boost his T but not take T.
oh, okay.
What's
All
your
right. So
dosage for
you're
it? Is
saying
that
about
600
just
IUs?
HCG
Yeah.
solo
Are you
protocol.
saying, yeah, we're not talking about fertility at this.
Okay.
We will, but like, let's say I'm a 22-year-old guy, my testosterone's at like 600. Sure, it could be environmental, but I want to take something to boost it. So is he taking 600 IUs 3 times a week? Is he taking 2,000 IUs once a week? What is your
We would probably
ideology?
start somebody who's using HEG solo on 500 IUs twice per week. And the reason we actually don't do more than I don't recommend people do more than twice per week is because you can luteinizing hormone receptors, which is what HCG binds to. They're not like androgen receptors where you can microdose, right? Because if you overwhelm the receptors, they'll recede inside their cell and you'll lose sensitivity. So taking HCG too frequently will actually desensitize you to the HCG. If you take it twice a week, you give time for upregulation of the receptors and allow it to maintain its sensitivity. So HCG just twice, 500 IUs twice a week for somebody who's doing HCG solo. Start with there, and then you can increase the dose later if you want a little more, or if that's too much and you need to back off a little bit. Start at 500 IUs twice per week.
Okay, and have you seen some astonishing increases from just solely taking HCG? Now, I know there's many variables out there that
Yeah,
influence that,
I've
alcohol
seen
use,
I've seen
everything,
people
but
get over 1,000 testosterone from just HCG. I've seen it before. I've also seen it not work at
okay.
all. It depends. So if you have primary hypogonadism, right, where your testicles just are not producing the right amount, then no amount of HCG
Yeah.
is going to help that. If
So I
you
guess, yeah.
if you have more secondary hypogonadism, then HCG can be effective in that case.
Okay. And now, are you guys evaluating that by also kind of seeing where FSH and LH is
Yeah,
at?
yeah. So if we're going to give you HCG solo, that's important because if you have primary hypogonadism, there's no reason for HCG treatment.
You just go straight to
You
T.
people rarely have primary hypogonadism. It's actually it's the and another fallacy of the endocrine society. I mean, it's good that they kind of understand these things, but they only came up with two hypogonadism, primary and secondary hypogonadism, and it's very rarely clearly one or the other. Very rarely. It's usually a combination of both.
Yeah. Like
So
FSH just gone and LH just,
no,
low,
usually
low.
they're both like near the middle. And for
Yeah.
most people, and their testosterone levels are still low. So
And
the
even if you just hijack it, it's not gonna do too much.
yeah, for a lot of people, yeah, even if you just jack their HCG way up, it's
Yeah.
still it doesn't really affect their testosterone levels that much. For some people, it does though. Like I said, I've seen people go to over 1,000 on just HCG. So
All right.
everybody's different.
And so the enclomiphene, I want to go back to that. So you're not a fan of Enclo.
No, and
Okay. And you're doing it because the SERM
if
that
right,
it
it just
has.
it blocks estrogen receptors in your hypothalamus, which which tricks your body into thinking you have low estradiol. But the problem is it blocks estrogen receptors, and it blocks estrogen receptors in more than your hypothalamus too. So most people who take clomiphene, either A, they don't feel good right from the beginning because you're blocking estrogen receptors, and estrogen is very important, or
Mhm.
B, they'll feel good for a few months, maybe a month, maybe two, maybe even up to six, and then they don't feel good anymore after that. It's not a long-term solution. Estrogen is really important, and I don't like blocking it just to trick your body into thinking you have low estrogen so that you produce more testosterone. It's not effective and it doesn't make sense.
Okay. 100%. Okay. So then for you, I guess going back way to you, did you ever find out what was wrong? Did you just kind of have like a pituitary issue, or what,
No,
did they ever understand what happened with you
here's
having
another
always low
yeah,
T?
here's another problem is they never took the data. And we don't take data for young people. Everybody should have their testosterone hormone levels checked when they're younger so you can establish a baseline even if you're good, right? Like so I've seen this problem before. People people when they're younger, some people have really high testosterone levels. Like they could be 1,500. Then you come when you're in your 50s and your testosterone levels in their 600s, your doctor's going to go, "Oh wow, you're," and everybody else is going to go, "Your testosterone level's fine." Right? But if you come from 1,500 down to 600, that's a massive drop, right? And you're going to feel that.
Hmm.
You operate best at 1,500, that specific person did, right? So if we don't know your baseline, how do we know where you came from, right? So it's like
Hmm.
it's everybody should have their testosterone, all their hormone levels checked when they're young. So we can see what, if you felt good when you were young, then we can see, where you were optimal when you were younger. So none of my data was taken. So I don't know exactly what the problem was, but I know that I had hormone
Hmm.
deficiency. I just had all the
Yeah.
symptoms.
Yeah, and then if you were saying like, what is your four titrations of a testosterone cypionate dose that you're doing biweekly for individuals? Are you doing 75 milligrams twice a week? You're doing 25 milligrams? You're doing 100 milligrams twice a week? It
Yeah,
just
so
depends on the person.
it does depend on the person, but for somebody who's just
Obviously, I should say,
yeah,
but
but your inclination is right. Like we have to start somewhere, right? Hormone, you don't, what you learn
and the
when you
only
come,
reason why I'm saying this is that we're both not trying to say what you
yeah,
need to do. We're not doctors, but I think it is appropriate to talk about
yeah,
because you own a clinic. I
yeah,
work with a lot of people,
mhm,
and when I hear some of what these PCPs and GPs are prescribing these men, it's like, dude, I don't know. That's like one time I
yeah,
heard that I heard well, so one of my a client of mine, he was like, yeah, like we were having our first call, initial call, sales call, whatever you want to call it. And he was like, yeah, I'm taking 75 milligrams every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Just
crazy.
one shot. And I'm
The
like, did I hear that right?
Yeah. No,
I was like, oh my goodness.
the endocrine society protocols dictate that you take 100 milligrams once every 2 weeks or 200 milligrams once a month. Can you
Wow.
freaking imagine? I just told you what the half-life of testosterone cypionate was.
Yeah, two
Two
to
to
four
four
days.
days. If you take one injection once a week, you're going to spike really high. And then by the sixth day, you're going to be all the way
It's like the
where you
pellets.
started. And then
Yeah.
for the rest of the 3 weeks, you're going to live in a life of despair. And that's what we see when
Probably
we
worse
get
than
to
what you
that.
did prior
You are
because you just
unequivocally
over.
going to feel worse than what you did before you started.
Yeah,
Unequivocally.
because you just totally just
Yeah,
even
because now
erase
your
your
body's not going to
testosterone
produce
more.
endogenous testosterone because you spiked your levels up so high. You're right. You're going to feel worse. Even once every twice a week, you're going to feel okay half the time and then like crap the rest of
Yeah.
the time. Right.
Yeah. So what is your titrations?
So what we start people at now, what's important to understand here is that it's when you get good at this, you understand it's not about putting everybody in a box. It's not about putting everybody at a certain blood level on a certain protocol on a certain dosage. It's about developing a methodology to figure out what yields the best results for each individual, right? So we do that by starting off at a moderate dose, seeing how you react, and then it's a game of adjustments. It's about we have to see how you react. If I give the 1,000 different people the same exact protocol, I'm going to get 1,000 different reactions. Right?
Hmm.
So I have to see how you're going to react first. So we give you this base moderate protocol, see how you react, and then make additions, titrations, based on how you're reacting and what your goals are from there, right? So we would usually, when we start people who have no idea, who've never done this before, we take their history into account, right? If they've done it before, we say, okay, well, what'd you do in the past? Did this work? Did that? And then we just kind of build off of that. But
Yeah.
if they've never done it before, they have no idea, we'll start people on 80 milligrams twice per week and then see how you react and then
Mhm.
make adjustments
Okay.
based on that.
Okay. And then what is the upper limit that you guys go? Do you guys do physique enhancement people or how does that work?
We're not allowed to prescribe for that. So
Okay.
if you come in and say, "Hey, I want to get jacked and win Mr. Olympia," like we can't treat you for that, right?
So what do they,
But
so they got their own clinics that do that, so to say, or
well,
I guess this is a more
yeah,
personal
or I
question. So
mean, we would just have to frame it like, okay, so you're not we can prescribe for things such as
performance enhancements, I guess you should say purposes.
we can't prescribe for that, right? We can prescribe for symptoms of hypogonadism, right? Some of those symptoms can
Yeah.
be like inability to gain muscle mass, inability to maintain muscle mass, fatigue, lethargy, anxiety, like
Yeah.
all the other libido, erectile dysfunction, things like that. We're allowed to prescribe for symptoms of low testosterone. So we can't say, hey, this guy wants to get jacked, so we'll prescribe him testosterone. It's more a function of and there's limit there. I mean, we also have to understand what is generally considered acceptable within the industry. So, like, we wouldn't be able to prescribe people like 500 milligrams of testosterone a week because it's just
Mhm.
and this is unfortunate. There's some cases where people may need that much. And
80
there's
year old guy, 80-year-old guy, he needs, I mean, there's just completely dissipated from, I
yeah,
mean, the communication
or
between his
yeah,
body, his
or somebody with a
pituitary.
SHBG mutation where
Yeah.
we have a guy who has 120 SHBG. Now he would need if we didn't have oxyandrolone to give him, he would probably need 800 milligrams of testosterone to give that adequate total testosterone to SHBG ratio. He would probably
Yeah.
need to have a total testosterone of like near 4,000 in order to actually give him enough free testosterone to
Yeah.
to function. Luckily, we just give him oxyandrolone and it brings his SHBG down to a manageable level. And now we only have to give him like 250 milligrams of
And
testosterone.
so, like, what is their criteria for prescribing oxyandrone or Anavar or whatever?
Well,
Is that just for like someone like I mean, in my circumstance, I could be like, hey, I'm doing the check-ins. I'm looking at, Sarah. Sarah's doing good, but she's like, we're 14 weeks in, and like, we're at a 300 caloric surplus. We
mhm.
got Trey dialed in. Her testosterone's hovering around a 70. Libido is good. Motivation's good. Willpower is great, but it's like she's just not building muscle. Is that something that we could, is that something you guys obviously
Yeah,
facilitate and do
inability
you
to
see it
gain muscle
often?
mass. Yeah, so we would be able
Okay.
to say she's experiencing an inability to gain muscle mass, and that is a symptom of low testosterone, even in female. And then we could prescribe an androgen for that, right? There's no specific criteria for oxandrolone, despite what I've heard people try to say in the past. There's no specific criteria. Um, now, like I'll just say there's no specific criteria. Now, there's things that
Yeah.
they have usually used it for that it's indicated for. And usually one of the main things it's indicated for is burn victims and children, right? Because burn victims and children, they use an immense amount of energy, right? And you'll eat your own muscle mass in order to repair that skin if if you don't have enough androgens to for the protein synthesis and to reduce the or to, and to hypertrophy your muscle cells, right? So, and in children, estrogen closes growth plates, so you don't want to use testosterone, right? So because
Yeah.
too much estrogen you'll close your growth plates early, so that's why they use oxandrolone. So it's indicated for things like that, like children burn victims who need
It's pretty
anabolism
niche.
in order
Yeah.
to so that they don't because they'll eat all their muscle and they'll atrophy down to nothing. So
Wow.
you have to prescribe an androgen, and oxandrolone doesn't convert to estrogen, so that's the one they use.
So is there a way to measure that on bloods like androstenedione? Is that how you would measure that, or etiochlandrolone, or how are you measuring those androgens? Are you
Yeah,
not really?
right. There actually there isn't a way to. If you do
Yeah.
electrochromatography mass spectrometry, it will not pick up oxandrolone. It will not pick up
So what are
androgen.
those what are those androgen metabolites I just mentioned? Are those androgens or
Yeah, yeah. Well, the metabolites would be slightly different, but we don't have a way
so
to
those are
measure them.
metabolites. Those are different than just the androgen receptors themselves.
Yeah, well, like so, for instance, like testosterone metabolizes in the DHT, which is also a
Yeah.
potent androgen, right? Nandrolone metabolizes in the DHN, which is a much less potent androgen. We don't test for DHN. Um, we can, so
Oh, actually, this is a great question then too. Keep going, but I was going to say the hair loss.
uh,
What do we say about that? DHT, hair loss, testosterone. What do we say? These are all great
yeah.
questions.
Well, all right. So hair loss is a genetic predisposition. That's what's important for people to know. A lot of people just confuse this. If you have the genetic predisposition for hair loss, which is androgen receptors at the hair follicles, that's going to cause miniaturization, right? Then you're prone to hair loss, and usually you can tell that if it's in your family, right? Then testosterone or specifically DHT can exacerbate that condition, but it does not create a hair loss condition that does not already exist, right? So if you have if you do not have the predisposition for hair loss, if you see like your grandparents are keeping their hair and everybody around you is keeping their hair, then you're all the testosterone in the world isn't going to make you lose your hair. It's a genetic predisposition. So I'm a good example of it. I was a bodybuilder in the past. I've used incredibly abusive doses for 17 years, and I have not lost any hair. I have all my hair. So that's the first thing because I have people and the second thing is there are what the second thing what I really want people to understand is do not take finasteride or dutasteride.
Why not?
Finasteride,
I
what it
agree
does
with
is
that, by the way, but
it inhibits the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, which does, and this is another facile understanding of the medical community. They give that stuff away like Tic Tacs, and when you're inhibiting the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, it what's not understood is that every hormone has many metabolites, and every single metabolite has a function, right? Every single hormone, every single metabolite has a function, important functions. DHT is a metabolite of testosterone, but the 5-alpha reductase enzyme reduces testosterone in DHT, but it also reduces progesterone into allopregnanolone and pregnanolone. It reduces estradiol into a metabolite, and it further reduces DHT into metabolites, and the further metabolites that actually act on GABA receptors as well. It reduces cortisol into
so can we
important metabolites. So
I'm sure.
when you inhibit that enzyme, you inhibit the production of a lot of very necessary metabolites that are, and you're causing downstream problems throughout your
Yeah,
entire body.
well, I mean, as guys, I mean, we all know the post-finasteride syndrome,
So post-finasteride
ED.
syndrome is one
Yeah.
of the major reasons. There's a 1% chance that you can permanently What it does is it methylates the promoter of the 5-alpha reductase enzyme in your in DNA in your brain in your DNA. So this permanently reduces your ability to produce 5-alpha reductase enzyme. This means we permanently reduce all of those metabolites I talked about: DHT, pregnenolone, the estradiol, cortisol, all those metabolites gone permanently. And I have seen people live complete lives of despair from taking one finasteride pill, and their entire lives are screwed up, and they can't properly. They have this constant anxiety, this erectile dysfunction. Just their lives are despair from finasteride. And there's a 1% chance that could be you. Like it's
Yep.
not worth the risk. Don't ever take it. And
Yeah, I
and
agree with that.
what happens with post-finasteride syndrome? That's what you're doing yourself while you're taking the finasteride. Now, most people they can stop taking it, and you'll produce 5-alpha reductase enzymes again, and everything goes back to normal. But why would you do that to yourself? You're all these very important metabolites you're just reducing, and people will just start feeling ways, and they don't realize it's the finasteride that's causing. There was a New York Times article that talked about all the problems that finasteride's causing for people.
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. There's forums, Reddit, everywhere
Yeah.
says it. And so for you too, I just on the topic of ED. So I'm assuming, do you guys do Cialis to Tadalafil
Mhm.
scripts? So I'm assuming that's big. Now I want you to talk about, is there beneficial properties? And because I'm seeing it like in some of the data here, like the low dose, let's say Cialis daily, anywhere
Mhm.
from 2 to 5 milligrams.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts are on that?
Yeah.
Are you for that? How do you feel like it
Sure.
improves people
Yeah.
and so forth?
Very beneficial. Vasodilation, right? It dilates blood vessels and allows more nutrients and more oxygen to get everywhere in your body, your brain, every organ, and that's just beneficial. Yeah, very beneficial.
And have you seen it improve a lot of people's their own ED at that low dose, or do you feel like you need a higher dose for that?
It depends on the person, but some people have better erection quality with just a 2.5 milligram dose of tadalafil daily, yeah, or 5 mil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's not like a taboo topic we're gonna dismiss here because I mean, it's a great opportunity for many people if they need it for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I think it also, I mean, like in the studies I was researching, it kind of decreases like all cause mortality, at least in the study I saw.
It- the dilated blood vessels just at least you're just healthier, more nutrients to every cell in your body and more oxygen. It's just you're just healthier. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm sure you got to run to your next meeting here and you had a
Mhm.
lot going.
Yeah, it's been
But
great. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
have to do this again. We'll have you on our show too. This is great.
yeah, 100%, 100%. All right then, Ryan. Well, so if someone wanted to go and find you, where should they find you?
Yeah, so hormonesforme.com.
Okay. And I'll link that
Yeah,
here.
yeah, we can be found at hormonesforme.com, and we have we have we've developed obviously the most knowledge in the country. Again, like I've developed these educational platforms where I teach people across social media, but we've also taught all of our coaches, our health mavericks that we call them, and I've been able to choose the providers that share my vision of how to do this, and we've got some
Mhm.
great providers who understand the right way to for hormone replacement therapy. We have the best customer service because we built a model. I think that's important, and our prices are among the best in the country. I firmly believe that you should not have to be in a certain tax bracket to afford to dramatically improve your quality of life with hormone replacement therapy. So I intentionally keep the prices as low as we can do it, so that we can help more
Yeah.
people.
Well, that's exactly why I'm partnering with H4M
Yeah.
and we're working through that. I mean, for
Mhm.
me, I that means a lot to me to hear from a
Mhm.
company because, I think we share similar beliefs.
Mhm.
And similar, just honestly ethics, I think is
Mhm.
pretty significant. So I love the education. It's honestly astonishing, the like you said too, like we put these doctors on these oracles, but it's just so crazy to think people like you that and not, maybe me, I don't know, but you
Yeah.
like that just know
Yeah.
all this education and technically, we don't have a PhD and it's not like we're floundering that we don't or do.
Yeah.
We're genuinely here to help someone. And
Yeah.
that's, the intent that it far exceeds any piece of paper or three-letter name behind
Yeah.
uh or three letters behind your name.
I mean, and yeah, I totally agree with you. And like, even no, yourself, like, I've heard a lot of great things. And I've seen a lot of great things from you. the idea that again, you go to medical school, you study a broad range of topics, very little of which has to do with nutrition or functional medicine or hormones. So why would it be hard to believe that somebody who's dedicated their life solely to their field of either whether it be nutrition or whether it be, functional medicine or whether it be hormones wouldn't know
Mhm.
more than a doctor? It makes sense. Like you don't learn about it in medical. Well, we know for sure, for a fact, if you have a medical degree in the United States, you did 6 hours of nutrition training in your eight
Yeah.
years of school. You did 6 hours. That's it. You didn't learn shit about medical school or about nutrition. You learn reactive medicine. You learn this templated approach to reactive medicine, and that you didn't learn anything about hormones. We know that for a fact. It's not in the curriculum. You look up any
Yeah.
curriculum, it's not in there. Not even endocrinologist, not
Well, and
urologist,
then
nobody.
yeah, and then to even further exacerbate that, you have been indoctrinated into in a model that is there to mask symptoms. You've
Exactly.
also been
Yes.
indoctrinated after you graduate to follow the insurance companies.
Yes.
So everything is a scam from the get-go.
Yeah.
So once people start understanding that, we're
Yeah.
gonna, I think people will be a little bit healthier. I
Yeah.
think.
I totally agree with
Um,
you.
but all right, Ryan. Well, I'll let you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be in touch
It
soon.
was great talking to Diego, and we'll do this again soon. For sure.
Absolutely.
Thank
All right,
you.
brother. Talk soon.